Right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to properly personalize your emails using Clay and not just personalize them in a generic way that references something about their company. So, like I saw you guys do this, personalize them in like a hard numbers way where they can see you've actually done some real research and you've calculated the real value that your service can provide to them in actual numbers. So, I'll show you how to build this table in Clay in a minute, but where we usually start is with your copy. So you kind of, a good practice to do is imagine you were in their shoes, the person who you're reaching out to, and then write yourself an email that you would actually be happy receiving that might offer you some kind of value. So in this case, I took like a conversion rate optimization agency for e-commerce businesses. And so imagine we're reaching out to e-commerce business owners or like heads of marketing, heads of sales. First to the subject line, as I always say, just don't overthink this. Just make it somewhat related to the email and kind of make it look like it's internal. So conversion rate question kind of passes those rules. And then in the email, I just wrote what I thought would be like a good cold email. So something that's relevant to them, has hard numbers in it that shows you've actually done research, has a good value proposition um, and offer, and then a low friction CTA. So in terms of this, I've said I saw an SEM rush, you're getting around 1 million visitors per month. And I estimated your average order value is probably around the ballpark figure of $50. We help e-commerce businesses boost their conversion rate by at least 2% in 90 days. So in your situation, that could be around $1 million boost in revenue per month. I've made a video explaining how we achieve this consistently. Shall I send it over? And then in the PS line, I also try and add a bit of like, make it less corporate. So I just say, I know you probably get 5 of these emails a day. So if you're not interested, just let me know and I'll disappear from your inbox. That is one thing I've been seeing recently is like, if you just basically acknowledge the fact that everyone's getting cold emails every day, you can kind of lower the friction and kind of make people less annoyed when they're reading your cold emails and more likely to respond. But basically, what we've done here is I've just been writing this without thinking about how I'm going to get these numbers. But then I've basically highlighted the numbers. These are the variables that I'm going to need to calculate or find, basically, like the data I'm going to need to find. The 2% boost is just like what this CRO agency does. So we don't need to find that. But these are the 3 data points that we either need to find or calculate. So what I've done is I just grabbed a few random e-commerce businesses, so ASOS, Cider, and Farfetch. And by the way, all these numbers like this 2% boost, I don't do CRO. Maybe that's impossible, but this is just like for an example. I've loaded them up into Clay. I've added company name and domain. And I've basically done an enrichment to find their company site traffic. And if you want to do that, you just go to here, just type down website traffic, and then you can do this waterfall enrichment here. If you want to use less credits, you can probably just do SEMrush because as you've seen, SEMrush has found all of their traffic. So now we've got our traffic, which is this this variable done. The next variable we needed was the average order value. To get the average order value, I've used Claygen and I've just used ChatGPT 4o Mini. Basically given the domain, and I just told it a really simple prompt. So check what products they sell and look at the prices and just give a good estimate of what you think the average order value would be. This was just a quick example. You could probably make this prompt way more detailed and potentially switch to something like Perplexity, which actually grabs data live, whereas ChatGPT sometimes grabs like old data. But just for this example, I just wanted a real like ballpark figure, roughly how much their average order value is going to be. So now we've got that. So that's that one done. So we've only really got one more variable we need to do. And that variable I just calculated in here all in one go. So I've said using the website traffic and using the average order value, basically times the website traffic by the average order value and then by 2%, which is our conversion rate, so 0.02. And that will give you the actual boost in revenue that we're going to be getting for them per month. And then I've told it with that number, now you can make this email. So I basically just taken that email from my sheet, and I just filled in the gaps pretty much. And then I've ran it, and I've seen that when I've ran it, there were a couple things wrong. So I've just added these two extra bits down the bottom. So it kind of created its own way of phrasing it. So I said you must use these exact words that I've used and this structure. And then it also didn't add any commas for the big numbers, so they were quite hard to read. So I just told it to add commas. You could also add some examples in here, which will make it way more accurate and way more consistent. But this is just a quick example. And as you can see, it's come out and it's actually given the figures. So exact website traffic, exact average order value, 2% boost, and then calculated how much. Obviously, this is ASOS, so probably not the type of client that most CRO agencies are going to get, but you kind of get the idea. I think the whole point of what I'm trying to show is don't just send generic messages. Like, think of what would be a really good email that you'd want to receive, and then work backwards, basically reverse engineer it on what data points you need to find, and then do everything you can to get those data points. If that involves you having to build NAN workflows to actually scrape data, then so be it, because most other people, most of your competition is not going to put the effort in to actually do that. If you don't have time to do this, or you'd prefer us to handle it for you, you can book a call with the link below and we can have a quick chat about whether our service would be relevant for you, for your B2B business. But other than that, thanks for watching the video. And if you need any other help with cold outreach or Clay in general, you can check out the other videos on my channel. Thanks very much.